15 bullets fire through a windshield on a road outside Tehran. And 1,500 kilometers away, in an operations room in central Israel, a young Mossad operator takes his finger off a trigger button. He stands up, leaves the building. He drives home. His spouse asks him how work was. He says it was fine. The man pulling that trigger has never been to Iran. The Mossad team that put the gun in position left the country 6 weeks ago. And the case officer who spent 5 years sourcing the intelligence that made all of this possible? That's you. You're in a cafe in Tel Aviv right now. You'll read about the hit in the news tomorrow morning. This is how Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, the physicist who ran Iran's nuclear weapons program for 20 years, was eliminated by the Mossad. Recruitment. You started 5 years earlier in a classroom in Herzliya. You're 21. You've just finished 3 years in Unit 8200, Israel's elite intelligence unit. Someone taps your shoulder the week before you get out. No explanation, just a phone number he recommends you call. Nobody at the Midrasha, the Mossad's training academy, calls anyone by their real name. Everyone goes by a nickname. You decide to give it a shot. You sit for polygraphs that take full days, a psychiatric review, the gibush, the brutal selection camp. Everyone in your tryout class is elite, but only a few make it through. They keep you awake for multiple consecutive nights under medical and psychological supervision, pushing you to your absolute limits. You make it through. Now it's time to meet the people who will design the person you are about to pretend to be for the next 10 years. Training. They ask you to walk into a cafe in Tel Aviv and come out with a coffee a stranger bought for you. If the stranger refuses, you've failed. If the stranger remembers your face a week later, you've also failed. Effective but forgettable, that's the goal. The next exercise is harder. They give you an address, an office inside a government building. Your job is to plant a matchbox in a key location and leave undetected. You make it in. You leave the matchbox. You walk out. Building security doesn't suspect a thing. The police don't know you're doing this, only your superiors. If you get arrested, the arrest is real. You will be released. And the police can only assume why you walk free. Soon after, you pick a language. Farsi. You could have picked Arabic down to the dialect, Lebanese, Gulf, Levantine, and Mossad would have sent you to run agents in Beirut or Damascus. You pick Farsi because Iran is where the action is. You've slowly been tapering off social media. Not enough to draw suspicion from your old friends, but your digital footprint is becoming smaller. When they ask, you just say you enjoy the privacy. You live in Istanbul for 8 months under a Canadian passport. You learn to dream in Persian. The Midrasha builds the rest of you. 11 years of fake education, a dead mother, a divorce in Montreal that didn't happen. When you meet your first asset in a Tehran cafe, he will have no reason to doubt any of it. 4 a.m., a safehouse apartment in Shemiran, North Tehran. You drink tea, not coffee. Coffee is for tourists in this neighborhood. You leave the apartment at 4:47. You start a 6-hour surveillance detection route. 3 legs, 3 different transport modes. A bus, a shared taxi, a short walk through a morning market. You recognize nobody, which is the only reason you can actually keep moving. You stop once at a public bathroom and send the day's first message to your superiors back home. Besides this secure line, no digital traffic. 10:40 a.m., a cafe on Vali Asr Street. Your asset is 34 years old, a supply clerk inside the IRGC. You recruited him through Telegram 8 months ago. The promise of a better life. You flew him to Istanbul 4 times. Mossad paid for his daughter's surgery and paid his brother's tuition. He's begun to feel indebted to you. Your asset stirs sugar into his tea. He tells you about a physicist who travels east of Tehran 3 times a month to a town called Absard in a Nissan sedan with an unusually small security detail. He leaves his napkin on the table. Inside the napkin, a USB drive the size of a fingernail, photographs of the physicist's compound, floor plans, the rotating IRGC security roster for his protection detail. He leaves. You see him again in 90 days, or you don't see him again. Mossad meets in-country assets on a deliberately slow cadence. Every face-to-face is a risk, and too many meetings make a pattern. If he doesn't show in 90 days, he has been arrested, turned, or killed. From this moment, Fakhrizadeh now has 5 years to live. January 31st, 2018. The Archive. Let's shift gears. You are not the only star of the show here. As of now, you've been out of Iran for a while, currently at an operational planning meeting in Herzliya. Tonight belongs to Nadav. Nadav is 32, Duvdevan graduate, the IDF's elite undercover counter-terror unit, recruited into Caesarea, Mossad's kinetic arm, through the unit's conversion course 5 years ago. Same as you, he was tapped right out of his service. Tonight, he is the ground lead for a team of more than 20 Mossad operatives inside a warehouse in the Shorabad district of southern Tehran. They rehearsed this for months in a full-scale replica warehouse somewhere in southern Israel. Every hallway and every safe. There are 32 safes inside the real warehouse. 6 of them have been identified as containing what the team came for. Identification sourced over years of intel, including intel your asset handed you in a napkin in a cafe on Vali Asr Street 18 months ago. Late evening, a female Mossad operative in full Islamic dress drives a decoy vehicle through the southern perimeter. Nadav's team enters the warehouse. They have 6.5 hours before 7 a.m. local time, when the first Iranian staff are scheduled to arrive. If Nadav's team is still inside at dawn, the operation is over. Safes or no safes, team or no team. They crack 6 of 32. They remove 55,000 pages of documents and 183 CDs. Codename Project Ahmad. Iran's pre-2003 nuclear weapons program, presumed by the West to have ended, but had actually continued under different names. Directed for all 20 years of its existence by a physicist named Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Bingo. By 7 a.m., Nadav's team has exfiltrated through 3 separate routes, materials in hand. They are out of Iranian territory by the end of the next day. 3 months later, on April 30th, 2018, Benjamin Netanyahu stands on a stage in Tel Aviv and holds those CDs up on live television. He names Project Ahmad. He names Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. And he looks into the camera and says, quote, "Remember that name." The countdown to the assassination is getting even closer. You go back to Tehran for 3 more rotations. Your asset delivers 6 more USBs. Nadav is redeployed. Iraq, the Gulf, cyber support for a separate op? Who knows? 2.5 years pass. The archive's contents move from Mossad headquarters to a team of analysts in a building north of Tel Aviv, who begin reverse engineering every document for one question. Where is Fakhrizadeh vulnerable? The answer comes back in the middle of 2020, a town called Absard, located in Damavand County. Fakhrizadeh travels there 3 times a month. His wife is from there. He has a country house. The security detail on this route is deliberately small, just a convoy of 4 cars. Fakhrizadeh has insisted on it for years, against IRGC protest. He likes the drive. He likes the privacy. On a specific stretch of road, his Nissan must slow and make a U-turn. At that point, the windshield is exposed to the roadside. For the Mossad, that is enough. 1,500 kilometers west, in an operations room in central Israel, a young Mossad operator sits at a remote console he has trained on for the better part of a year. The console controls a 1-ton remote-operated weapon, an FN MAG machine gun, AI-assisted facial recognition, and a satellite connection to Israel with just over a 1.5-second delay. The platform itself is already in Iran. A Mossad technical team smuggled it into the country in pieces over roughly 8 months, assembled it in a safe location, and drove it to a shoulder on the road to Absard. That team is no longer in Iran. Nobody from Mossad is in the kill zone on November 27, 2020. The assassination happens remotely. The motorcade enters the overwatch window at 3:26. The rig's cameras identify Fakhrizadeh through the windshield of his Nissan. The AI holds the target. The operator in Israel presses the button. The 1.5-second delay passes. 15 rounds enter the passenger cabin. Mossad later confirms to reporters, only the target is hit. His wife, seated right next to him, is not touched. The Mossad's custom vehicle self-destructs 2 seconds after the last round. By 3:31, emergency services arrive. Iranian security finds a burning truck and a dead man. For 3 days, the official Iranian line is that the assassination was carried out by a team of up to 12 gunmen on the ground. However, no such team existed. The Mossad operator closes the console, signs out, and goes home. By sunrise in Tel Aviv, the news has reached you. Elimination was a success. Years of planning has come to this. Home. You read about it on your phone, sitting up in bed. Your wife asks you what you're reading. You tell her some physicist or something was killed in Iran. She asks if you knew who he is. You say no. She thinks you work for the government, selling industrial pumps to Gulf states. You don't tell her what you did last week, last year, or for the last 5. You go downstairs, make coffee, and stand at the kitchen window for 5 minutes. This is the work. Nothing like the movies. It's lonely and exhausting, but these moments are rewarding.
Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, then you are exactly who we make these videos for. So hit subscribe because there are a lot more coming. And drop a like too. It's the best way to let us, and more importantly, the algorithm, know that you want more of this. And let us know in the comments what you'd like us to cover next. We do read every single comment. See you next time.